Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Prophecy Update. As always, it's our desire to bring the events that are happening in the world from a biblical perspective and also a prophetic perspective. So thanks for joining us this week. This week, what we want to talk about is how Israel is now being put in the crosshairs of the world. We know about the worldwide anti-Semitism, but we have to understand what's going on the ground with the war with Hamas and the fact that the United States is basically dictating to Israel how they will fight this war against Hamas. And obviously next would be Hezbollah, and the next would be Iran. And what we understand from prophecy is that Israel will never get their own way of handling things until Jesus comes back and rules and reigns on David's throne in the Messianic kingdom. Why is that? Because Daniel talks about, in Daniel chapter 2 and Daniel chapter 7, the times of the Gentiles. And that's where Israel will be under the thumb, basically, of Gentile empires. Daniel mentions 4 Gentile empires, and we're in that Roman phase right now. We're in the two-legged phase of Daniel's metallic man, which basically means that Israel is still under the thumb of Gentile empires. That being the case, Israel is trying to fight this war with Hamas and Hezbollah eventually, and then Iran, and basically the whole Arab world that's trying to destroy her. But right now, the United States and other international communities are putting pressure on Israel not to do this, to back down. And so what you're seeing is Israel does not possess any self-determination. And again, Israel will not have it until the times of the Gentiles ends, which means the return of the Messiah, and then he rules and reigns. So until then, Israel's always going to be in this crosshairs of the world, and the world dictating to Israel what it can and cannot do. And of course, you have the stupid UN and the dumb Biden administration trying to appease the Islamic world and whatnot. But basically, they have Israel over a barrel because Israel gets its armory and weaponry from the United States. And so therefore, the Biden administration and the State Department can tell Netanyahu, hey, look, you got to do it this way, or else we'll cut you from the bunker busters, we'll cut you from the supplies of F-16s or whatever armaments and weaponry that Israel needs. And Israel has put themselves in a position where they are dependent on weaponry from the United States. And therefore, you have a leftist like Biden, you have people that really don't want Israel to succeed, like the Biden administration, and many people in the Biden administration that can't stand Israel. And again, you know, the Biden administration is a carryover from the Obama administration, which couldn't stand Israel. And so there's a lot of pro-Hamas, pro-Islamic, pro-Muslim Brotherhood, pro-Hamas people in our State Department, in Washington, D.C., in this thing we call the swamp, that actually hates Israel. And so they're putting pressure on Biden to do all this, and that's why he's dictating to Israel what they can and cannot do. And it's sad in the sense that you know, we appreciate what America is, but America is being destroyed from within with these leftists, these anti-God, anti-Judeo-Christian ethics and morals. They just hate God, they hate the Bible, and therefore they're going to naturally hate Israel and try to do her in. So it's sad in the sense we're losing this Judeo-Christian country to a bunch of leftists, but it is part of prophecy. America's not mentioned in Scripture. America will eventually isolate Israel. It will not come to her aid. As Zechariah chapter 12, verse 3 mentions, that Israel will be isolated from all the nations, and all the nations will be against her. So eventually America turns on Israel. We know in the Gog of Magog war that America doesn't come to Israel's aid when they're invaded. And in the Psalm 83 invasion, America or any of the countries that would be friendly to Israel don't come to her aid when an all-Arab invasion happens. So Israel basically will be left out in the lurch. But again, that's according to God's plan. Why? Because he's trying to break the power of Israel, according to Daniel chapter 12. and basically get Israel to call out for Jesus, Yeshua, their Messiah, to come save them. And that's what this whole breaking process is about. So anyway, Israel's told by the Biden administration to do a ceasefire, which is insane. They should never have done that, and to provide humanitarian aid. And we all know that humanitarian aid is nothing but a resupply of Hamas and giving them time to regroup what they're doing. That shouldn't have happened. But again, this comes from the Biden administration. It comes from the pro-Hamas, Muslim Brotherhood, pro-Islamic, pro-jihad mentality of people in the swamp pushing Biden to do this, wanting to appease Hamas, wanting to appease Iran, wanting to appease Hezbollah, and then do a hostage swap. Again, that was U.S. sponsored to do this hostage swap. And basically what you had really was, it wasn't an apples for apples hostage swap. Israel gets some of its hostages back, civilians, but then Israel had to release 210 Palestinian terror convicts. And these were women and children, but they were convicted of terror acts. They're a bunch of terrorists, whether it's women and children. And in return for the release of the hostages, which was a 3-to-1 ratio, which was insane. And so anybody looking at this is ridiculous. So you had a total of 63 Israelis who were released, who were innocent civilians from this 6-day pause. And then Israel has to release 210 Palestinian terrorists, that being women and children. That's crazy. And again, when you do things like this, when the Biden administration does it, it's putting America in the crosshairs of the Abrahamic covenant. Because the Abrahamic covenant, in the terms of, I will bless those who bless you and I will curse those who curse you, that's God's foreign policy of how he deals with nations that deal with Israel. So right now, the Biden administration is bringing down a curse on America and any country that does this to Israel. But right now, America is the one doing this. So the cursing aspect of the Abrahamic covenant is going to come upon the United States for doing this. Anyway, again, this is all because of the times of the Gentiles. This is why Israel does not have its own right of self-determination. This is why, the UN split up their territory in 1947 and gave 80% of the historical and biblical land of Israel to the Arabs and gave Israel about 17.5% of the historical land because Israel doesn't have its own right of determination. And even though it declared itself to be a nation again, it is still dependent on Gentile nations. And so now what does the Biden administration want to do? Again, pushing Israel. They want a two-state solution. What the Biden administration want, and because of all the pressure it's getting from these pro-Hamas people and pro-Islamic people in America, is they want Israel to stop and give the Gaza back over to the Palestinian Authority and let Judea and Samaria be ran by the Palestinian Authority. Let the Gaza be ran by the Palestinian Authority, which is insane. That's again putting the power of running those areas around Israel in the hands of terrorists. And again, you're talking about the PLO, Islamic Jihad, or whatever organization, Fatah, Hamas, whatever you're talking about, they're all bent on the destruction of Israel and will not recognize Israel as a state. So therefore, it's a stupid solution. A two-state solution is ungodly, it's satanic, and it should never be advocated. But yet again, that's what the Biden administration is wanting. And so does the UN and every other globalist organization. They also want to appease Iran. This is another mistake that America is doing. And that's why they're telling Israel not to attack Hezbollah. Look, there's 150,000 rockets aimed at Israel right now from Hezbollah. And again, Hezbollah is Iran's proxy. And so the Biden administration has told Israel to back off and don't do anything with Hezbollah, even though Hezbollah is wanting to mount an attack. And Israel could preempt this and go after Hezbollah and wipe Hezbollah out. And Hezbollah needs to be wiped out. And so does Iran. Its regime needs to be wiped out, not the people. All of them need to be taken out. And so does Hezbollah. If Israel's to maintain its survival and security, Hamas has to be eliminated, Hezbollah has to be eliminated, and Iran has to be eliminated. And I'm talking about the government of Iran, not the people of Iran. Anyway, Netanyahu rejected the U.S. demand to surrender Gaza to the Palestinian Authority, and good for Netanyahu, because that would be obviously suicide. But again, they saw this, the U.S. State Department and the Biden administration saw this as, hey, we got to get rid of Netanyahu. That was their mentality. We got to get rid of this conservative, right-wing, fundamentalists. We got to have a more moderate type of individual running Israel that will play by our rules. And it's just insane. And again, we know that this whole last year, the leftists in Israel have been wanting to replace the duly elected Netanyahu and the conservative element. And the leftists have been working all year long about this, making up all kinds of propaganda about the IDF won't fight for Netanyahu, and they're not going to protect Israel if Netanyahu's still in the government. And basically what they've done to Trump here in America is what they're doing to Netanyahu in Israel. And so the leftists in Israel have been wanting him out, and then the leftists in the Biden administration want him out because he told America, no, I don't want the two-state solution and being ran by the Palestinian Authority. That's insane. But again, they're going to try to oust him some way, somehow. They're going to try to undermine him, like even the Obama administration tried to undermine Netanyahu in their elections, if you recall. It's insane. And you want to see how insane this is, as if these so-called Palestinians, which are nothing but Arabs, nothing but Jordanian and Syrian refugees that refuse to acknowledge the state of Israel, refuse to go back into their own land, even when Israel said they could come back. If you want to know their mentality of how they would run things, watch this crazy video. This is a recent airing of Palestinians doing a musical encouraging Palestinians to fight against Israel with machine guns, RPGs, daggers, and bombs. This is the kind of entertainment that they give their people in Judea and Samaria and the Gaza Strip. Watch this. As you can see, this is the death cult of the Palestinians. This is the death cult of the people living in Gaza and Judea and Samaria. And again, anyone with any common rational sense, any moral fiber in them can see that this is a death cult, that this Hamas, this Palestinian Authority, these people are crazy, insane, they're demonic, they're devilish, it's satanic. And Israel has to deal with them. And so what we heard recently, that the U.S. officials began telling reporters that, again, we need to get a new government in Israel, a more moderate government. Because why? Because Netanyahu and the conservative element of Israel knows the threat. And apparently, America is okay with the threat. Apparently, the Biden administration is okay with appeasing people in the Gaza Strip and Judea and Samaria, and appeasing Iran. And again, this is all setting up Israel to be isolated. So if America eventually undermines Netanyahu and the conservative element that's going on in Israel, what could we expect to see? You're going to see a more leftist type of government in Israel. And this sets them up, I think, for the future government of Israel making a deal with the devil, which would be the covenant with the Antichrist. And the way things are going in this world, so a guy like Benjamin Netanyahu, they do not want, the globalists don't want him, just like they don't want Trump. They don't want anyone conservative at all, whether it's in Israel or America or Canada or Europe or wherever. They're removing any conservative element out of governments. And so what you're going to end up with is a leftist government in Israel. And Isaiah talks about this kind of government. It talks about the types of people in Israel's government at the time of the beginning of the tribulation, when Israel makes a deal with the devil, with the Antichrist. Isaiah 28 actually talks about it. And it says, and it indicates this: therefore, hear the word of the Lord, you scornful men. So it calls the leadership and the government of Israel scornful men. And these scornful men, it says, who rule this people who are in Jerusalem, because you have said, we have made a covenant with death and Sheol, we are in agreement. When the overflowing scourge passes through, it will not come to us. That's what they're saying. For we have made lies our refuge, and under falsehood we have hidden ourselves. And what this is about is that these scornful men will do a deal with the Antichrist to protect them from an overflowing scourge. The overflowing scourge is a Hebraic way of saying a military invasion, right? And you can see with the Hamas invasion, a possible Hezbollah invasion, or an Iranian invasion, or an Arab invasion, or a Gog of Magog invasion, that Israel is going to finally say, look, we need protection. America's not helping us. No one's helping us. And all of a sudden, Satan presents the Antichrist to them. And the Antichrist is their new best friend. He's going to say, I'll come and protect you. And so these scornful men in the Israeli government do a deal with him, being naive to him, saying, well, this guy will bring us that protection we're looking for. And so what's happening is, if America or the whole globalist organizations undermine Netanyahu, he will not survive politically, and you're going to get more of a leftist government, even though Israel is more conservative than they are left, especially the younger generation. The younger generation is the opposite of what's happening in America. The younger generation in Israel is becoming more religious. The stats are off the charts on that, compared to the young in America, which are going leftists and new agey, pagan. The younger are going more conservative and more religious in Israel. But nonetheless, the issue is leadership. What's happening in leadership? What does the international community want? And I think with all of this, they're going to undermine Netanyahu and get their people in there, like just what you saw happen in America. How is it that Joe Biden won with 81 million votes, the most votes ever? We know it was a fraud. We know it was wrong. We know it was rigged, but they had to ensure that he got in there. Well, they're going to do the same thing. And this is going to be the reason they take Netanyahu out, because he's not playing with what America wants and dealing with Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran. So we're watching the setup of all of this. And so these scornful men are the ones who do the deal with the Antichrist. And this is Daniel chapter 9, verse 27. And it says, then he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. And so the many, notice this doesn't say the all of Israel, but the many, again, just referring to that political element, the scornful men that ruled Jerusalem, the political element, the leaders of Israel, that will make this covenant. So it's not all of Israel, it's the many. So they represent, the government represents Israel, but it doesn't include that everybody in Israel agrees with this. It's the ones in leadership do it. So again, what's happening is Israel's being isolated, and now the worldwide anti-Semitism is out of the box. It's for everyone to see. It's 1938 in 2023. And you can't put the anti-Semitism back in the box. It's out, and people don't care. And you guys all are aware of this. We've been talking about all the worldwide anti-Semitism from London to Paris to New York to Sydney, Australia, all these different places where you're seeing it. You're seeing it in high schools, colleges, and universities. It's everywhere. A recent bout of this anti-Semitism came in this last week in Oakland, in the Oakland City Council, and the Oakland City Council unanimously approved a resolution supporting the U.S. House Resolution 786, which demands an immediate de-escalation and ceasefire in Israel. The council then, moreover, rejected an amendment to include language in its resolution condemning Hamas, so it wouldn't condemn Hamas. And so prior to this vote, I want you to see what the public said. They had an opportunity to comment before this was decided on, this resolution and amendment. And I want you to see the chaos that ensued and the mentality of these creepy people that hate Jews, do not see reality, are demonic, they are satanic. Listen to them talk. They denied the atrocities that Hamas committed. They denied the rapes and murders and the attacks on babies, and they justified Hamas's actions. Listen to this. This is insane.
There's not been beheadings of babies and rapings. Israel murdered their own people on October 7th.
Calling Hamas a terrorist organization is ridiculous, racist, and plays into genocidal propaganda that is flooding our media and that we should be doing everything possible to combat.
I support the right of Palestinians to resist occupation, including through Hamas, the armed wing of the unified Palestinian resistance.
As an Arab, asking with this context to condemn Hamas is very anti-Arab racist.
The notion that this was a massacre of Jews is a fabricated narrative. Many of those killed on October 7th,
Thank you, ma'am. Your time is up.
Including children, were killed by the IDF. An amendment condemning Hamas is bald propaganda meant to...
Thank you. Your time is up.
To hear them complain about Hamas violence is like listening to a wife beater complain when his wife finally stands up and fights back.
Question. Did anyone else notice that those who oppose this resolution are old white supremacists?
There's been a lot of atrocity propaganda ranging from claims of beheaded babies to mass rape.
Hamas is not a terrorist organization just because the U.S. and Israel deems it so. Hamas is a resistance organization that is fighting for the liberation of Palestinian people.
As you can see, these people are crazy demonic. They're dangerous on top of it because they're denying reality. And should we be shocked? They deny the reality that there's only male and females. Well, they deny the reality that Hamas is a terrorist organization and blames Israel for October 7th. I mean, these types of people are dangerous, but they're all over the world. They're all in our communities. They're everywhere. Even in here, in our community, we had our digital sign, which supports Israel, spray painted by some Islamic guy. We had people put up signs that we made that say, I support Israel. They had people in our congregation had those signs trashed. Anti-Semitic slurs were written on them and they were destroyed in some cases. We've had people call our church saying, take down our Israeli flags, yada, yada, yada. And you're thinking, man, we're in the backwoods in Bakersfield, man. We're not in some crazy Portland, Oregon, or or Detroit or Chicago or Brooklyn or something like that. We're in mainstream America, and we still have these crazy people here denying reality and becoming violent, destroying property. And if they could get their hands on you, they would hurt you. That's how crazy these people are. It's everywhere. And again, people are losing their minds on this because it's a spiritual issue. It is a spiritual satanic issue. And why? God is allowing it, no doubt about it, but Satan is trying to destroy the Jewish people so that the second coming doesn't happen and so that God doesn't make good on his promises. So all that to say is, what can we do? Well, you have to stand up for Israel. You have to stand up for Israel, to your family who have lost their minds, to your friends who have lost their minds, to the community that's lost their minds, and to anyone that is peddling the lie that Hamas is not a terrorist group and that Israel's an occupier. You have to, and I have to correct that. We cannot let them go. Now, I have people that tell me that at Thanksgiving, they got in arguments with some of their crazy family members who denied what was going on, and the people just got up and left and say, hey, you know what, so what? The truth divides. And enough of this idea of we're going to support terrorists. That has to be taken down by truth. You have to use the truth and say, you know what, you're dead wrong on that, dude. You have to get into reality. Hamas is a terrorist group. Israel is just protecting themselves and going to war over it, obviously. And in what war do civilians not get hurt? I don't know one war where civilians don't get hurt. So yes, will Palestinians die? Yes, because a war is happening. Israelis are dying. It's war. But anyway, you have to confront these people with the truth. Okay? They have to be put on notice. They have to be told the truth. Now, some of them you might win, some of them you won't. If you don't win them, so what? You're being like the prophet Jeremiah. The prophet Jeremiah was told to go in there and tell Israel what's going on, and they're not going to listen to you. But again, I want you to put them on notice. They're not going to listen to you, but I need you to tell them. And so that's what we're doing. We're either helping that this truth will bring people to understanding what's really going on, or if anything, you're putting them on notice. And you're going to put them on notice in the fact that once you tell them the truth and they suppress it and deny it, there will be more judgment for them in the days ahead because of the denial of the reality. And again, if you want to bless Israel, this is the time to do it. We're blessing Israel. We're going to Israel and we're going on the ground. We're helping the IDF. We're helping displaced families with food, medical. We're over there on the ground working there, and we're getting bulletproof vests, helmets. We're getting tactical gear for the IDF. We just bought 160 rain jackets, 40 IDF. And again, we're doing everything we can and even going on the ground in Israel to help them. If you want to be a part of this, you can help Israel too. And what you can do is donate through Rock Harbor and go to our website, go to the giving tab, and it'll pull down places to give, and it'll talk about blessing Israel and Israel ministries. And you can look on that giving tab and click those tabs, and your money can go directly to helping the IDF and displaced Jewish families all over Israel. And that money will get there to be able to buy things for them that they don't have. And it helps us send people. We're sending groups to Israel to help them, to pick fruits and vegetables for their farms, just to do anything we can to help their economy get going and help them survive all of this. And so you can give, and that money will go straight there. And just to get a taste of it, here's a video that we wanted to show you of the group that we're working with in Israel. This is a warehouse, and this is a distribution center that sends out all the stuff that we're buying and purchasing to people there in Israel. Watch this.
Wow, welcome to Israel.
Thank you.
And to the Baptist village.
Joe is he's the manager of Netiva, the youth and soldier ministry that we work with. So we took on us the whole soldier project.
Okay.
And at first, again, we just got one. It was great to have. At first, we just started handing out our own personal equipment.
Okay.
things like that, and then we realized they need more. Okay. We're pressed for 10. Mattresses, like there were soldiers at 10 mattresses to sleep up for 2 days. For days, like they were out Okay. And so we were buying a whole bunch of mattresses and trying to get it to the soldiers, and then they needed power banks because there was no electricity, so we got power banks. Anyways, all these needs came up, and we just started kind of collecting. Now it's raining, so people need more tents, and they need more rain gear, and they need, again, then you have up in Lebanon, it's really hot. Down south, it's warmer, but it's, so we have all like the thermal gear and things like that, so that they're needing that.
Okay.
And at first it was really needed because at first everyone was called out as fast as possible, and they couldn't get all the equipment. So they were there, and we had like this period of time where we didn't know how long it would be until everyone's going in.
Okay.
So we saw that as like a window to try to get as much as we can before the soldiers actually go into Gaza or into Lebanon. We didn't know.
And the delay was good for us.
And the delay, it was good. Yeah, it was. It just allowed us to.
Just like us on the flight here, the flight got delayed.
So most of the soldiers also maybe have gone home once and come back, so they have stuff. But now you'll have a unit that's saying, hey, we just got out of Gaza, all of our knee pads are thrashed.
Okay.
So we're trying to get new knee pads, but again, trying to find new knee pads here in Israel. So we'll have people bringing them in, like just knee pads for in suitcases and stuff. Then we get it to the units, and then they'll go back in. So we're just trying to be available. We're not trying to supply the army with everything, just with the kids that we know from the believing conferences and from the congregations here, we're trying to supply them with. Sure. Anyways, that's the big story.
Okay.
I throw in also that it's a great opportunity for us to share the gospel, because people are in need, and we're able to just say, hey, like today we had a couple guys from my son's a tank commander, and his two friends from his unit came in here, and we just packed them up with a car full of equipment and stuff and clothes and stuff, and they'll be asking him for years, who is this organization that gave us all this stuff, and why did they do that?
There's your way of helping, and if you want to help in the overall cause, tell the truth. Make sure you get the truth out about Israel, about the Palestinians, about Hamas, about what's going on in the region, the history, and correct this. Because there are too many lies and propaganda out there, and people are out of their minds. So it becomes our responsibility, and we all share in that responsibility. So let's do it, because I can guarantee you the churches are not doing it and the pastors are not doing it. So it's going to fall on the grassroots efforts of Philadelphia believers carrying this water and being responsible with the truth. So I know you're up for the task. Let's get to it, okay? With that being said, hey, a couple things before we go. Continue to pray for us, because we're under a lot of attacks from the spiritual realm and physical realm as well. We need your prayers. We need your financial support. Make sure you're on our text alert so we can let you know of things that are happening. So with that being said, remember what the Lord said. When you see these things begin to happen, like worldwide anti-Semitism, Israel being put in the crosshairs of all nations, Zechariah chapter 12, verse 3. Look up, lift up your heads, because your redemption draws near. God bless you. We'll see you next time.